Welcome to Titan HST's Business Continuity Today, hosted by Todd DeVoe, where planning meets reality.
Good morning, good afternoon, depending where you are. I'm Todd DeVoe. I'm the Director of Emergency Services at Titan HST, and I've been involved responding to emergencies and disasters for a long time now, since about 1989. In addition to the work I do at Titan HST, I'm an educator, teaching the post-secondary level, and learning and sharing what I've learned is a really big passion for me. And so welcome to Business Continuity Today, where today we'll continue to learn together. Today we're talking about developing your leadership model and personalizing your expression of your leadership beliefs, purposes, and skills. So just like making a mind map for your mental models, right? We've talked about this in the past. You should go through the same process as you develop your leadership model. And there's various different ways to do it. And if you take a look at the mental model development, you'll get some ideas on how you can create this. And that's another topic for another day. But we're going to get into the process of choosing your leadership style today. So this process allows you to see what fits for you, right? And your personality and your values and your morals, right? And so there are there's about 7 primary leadership styles that are out there. And each has a place. And realistically, when I look at these leadership styles, one of the things that I really want to stress is it's not just one, right? You don't just pick one. It depends on where you're at in the process of what you're doing, what you might be having, and you could actually go in between each leadership style as needed, right? But the idea here is what is your way of doing things, right? And how does it fit? So my personal way I like to lead and what I like to use is the servant leaders, right? I've been in this concept of servant leadership. I've been using it for many years, even before I realized what servant leadership was. And I think it's something that we were instilled and ingrained in our lives when we were in the military, which is odd. You would think like the military is very authoritative, which it can be, right? But at the end of the day, it's also making sure that your people that you are responsible for, and that's the term right there, is responsible for, right, have the things they need to be able to be successful in their job, right? And that's the idea of the servant leadership. But the servant leadership still has these 7 leadership styles that are in there. There's autocratic, right? Authoritative, pace setting, democratic, coaching, affiliative, and laissez-faire. And the autocratic style is what you think you would see here, and maybe authoritative style in the military, right? Is the do as I say. And realistically, the autocratic leader believes that he or she knows more than the others, that they're the subject matter expert. I'm just going to tell you how to do it and make it happen. Now, there are times when that is important to have, right? In the crisis, as business continuity and emergency managers, at times we may be in that idea of using the autocratic style or maybe the authoritative style and doing, hey, this is what needs to be done. This is how we're going to do it. Do it this way. Don't ask questions. And, we'll come back around to this later. Now, it's a very much a command and control approach, right? We're not looking at, things that happened in the past with other people's talents or who fits best where. It's look at this. We're in a crisis. We need to get stuff done. And there's realistically, it's a very short-lived style, if you will, right? Because people won't stay there. They won't work for you if you're always in the autocratic style. They don't have the ability to have freedom of expression in this case. That's the micromanager, if you will, with the autocratic style. It's very much control of everything. And for me, to be honest with you, I think the people that have the autocratic style or stay in that world, right? I think those people, they tend to be short-term leaders, right? They're not there for long term. They're there for their own reasons, for their own advancement. They're not really working with teams, and it's going to get hard for people to get behind them, if you will. Authoritative style, right? It's follow me, right? The authoritative style is like Mark the confidence leader, right? Who map the way and set the expectations while engaging and energizing their followers along the way. And I suppose in the sense of this is the person who really does have a lot of knowledge of what's going on, and they want to bring the people along with them. But however, you can be stuck into this position here, because realistically, you're not sharing the authority, you're not sharing the knowledge with your team to be able to let them think on their own, to let them bring up issues and problems, and have that problem solving model that goes along with the style. Again, I think realistically, staying in this style, the authoritative style, is a short term project. But I think it's a little bit better than if you go with the autocratic style, right? Because here you still are taking time to explain things, to explain your thinking. These people don't necessarily just issue orders, right? And most of all, they allow people to have some input to achieve those common goals. Then you go into pace setting, and it's a do as I do, right? Not do as I say. And this style describes the leader who's driven. And some people say it as it's like the pace car at the at the races, right? The person goes out there, sets the pace, sets the tone, sets the style, is going to get in there and do it, and they expect the other people to come in behind them and do as they do, exactly how they do, right? But the problem is again, this doesn't allow for team growth, right? Or when you stay here. Now, there might be a time when you need to have this. For instance, like a good pace setting style of leadership is if you're teaching a class, right? Or if you are, say, doing some training, those type of things, where you have bringing people in that really don't understand the process. You're showing them the process, you're doing the process, and then you're allowing them to catch up with you. And then you can step back and then allow them to go. And just again, like the pace car sets in the at the NASCAR, if you will, right? The pace car eventually gets off the freeway gets off the racetrack, and then the cars will do their own thing, right? And then you move into the democratic style, right? And that's just, what do you think? And these are leaders that share information with the employees about anything that affects their works, their responsibilities, and also seeks the employees' opinions before making a final decision. And this is great, right? And especially when it works in the teams. If everybody gets a vote, I suppose, in this way of moving things forward. Now, this can actually slow things down. It could really slow things down if it gets into the long debates about things. So sometimes what you have to do is go through the process of the democratic style process, the brainstorming, the vote taking, and then at some point, as a leader, you might have to go up to, again, flip over to the authoritative style and make a decision, right? Because sometimes with the democratic style, that's the really mold them around what their talents are. And this is one of the ones where you work with your strengths of your team members, right? And not trying to bring out their faults, right? If you will, you work along their strengths and you really put this up high. Again, this is great as you're going through the process, but at some point you're gonna have to make a decision. And I think coaching style, though, really fits along the lines of what we do as servant leaders. And then there's the affiliative style, right? People come first. The approach is where the leader gets up and close and personal with people. And it's at times these are the people who will get really personal. When I say personal, they're known, the family members and all this other kind of stuff that goes along with that relationship with that person. Some people aren't comfortable with that. They want to have a really big divide between work and home life. So sometimes that doesn't work for some people. But this also creates a bond between the team and the organization and the member, right? So you have to kind of take a look at who's on your team, how they feel about things, and before you really kind of get deep into their personal life, what's going on with them. But it also does do one thing is it allows for that connection between teams and who they're working for, and that they're not just a cog in the machine. So again, there's definitely a give and take on that aspect of it. And then the other one is the laissez-faire style, which this is leaders come up with styles, not any oversight at all. I guess this would be the complete opposite of a micromanager. Now, the problem with this, though, is that sometimes the employees or the team members, you know, feel like there's no leadership, right? That everybody's just kind of out there doing their own thing, making things that are beneficial for themselves, and that style. But however, you are giving them the complete trust, and you trust your team to do what they're doing, and they come to you with maybe some problems to help out through that you help them out, through stuff like this. But at the end of the day, it can be frustrating for some people who feel that their leader is uninvolved in the process. So, but there are times when this is a really good style to do. And if you take a look at some of the ideas of commander's intent when we use this in emergency management, right? This can be construed maybe as this a little bit, but it's with oversight, right? This is with oversight. So you say, hey, this is what needs to get done. You guys figure out the exact way of getting it done, and then as long as it's done within ethical and moral ways, you're good to go. But at the same time, there's still oversight, if you will, with the goals, objectives that are set by the leader at the top, and then the leader will come back down and deal with or help out with issues that occur if they need to be doing. But the one problem you have with this is people may drift, and you have to really work on people not drifting. It's a different type of team that can really work well within this style, and you have to understand who your team members are and what that looks like. So in choosing that leadership style, right, knowing which leadership style works best for you is part of being a good leader, right? And what you really need to do is lay down that mental map, right, and understand what the different styles are. The most important part about when you're choosing this leadership style, what works for you, is know yourself. Start by raising self-awareness on what your dominant leadership style is, and step back and reflect on how you lead your team. Because as emergency managers and business continuity managers, at the end of the day, we're going to be leading teams during crisis. People are going to be really looking for you, not just for your knowledge on the authoritative style stuff and things, but also leading people through some pretty tough times. If we think about what's going on with COVID, stores closing, losing market share, there's the earthquake, the fire, tornadoes, hurricanes, all these things that are happening during this. What does it mean for the organization? So they're going to be leaning on you for this. So you have to really know yourself and what makes you tick, right? And then practice, right? It sounds funny to practice leadership, but yeah, you have to go back and take a look. Again, you're here today learning a little bit here on business continuity today. So obviously you're interested in learning, but read books, practice, go through stuff, look at what really works for you, understand yourself, and then put those things into play and work it out. And then, develop that leadership agility, understanding how you can transition between styles, understand how each style works in a different setting, and be able to implement those styles during those times. So everybody, I want to thank you for being with us today. I want you to visit Titan HST for all your communication needs. And remember to follow us on your favorite podcast player, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, and join us next week. Until then, stay safe and stay hydrated.